screw to the top of this, and then this will be your mount for your picking.
Well, guys, one thing you know about me, if you know me at all about hunting, you know that I love to hunt, but I really love that early season, that patterning those bucks. And you know, we had already done that. We were in that time of year where it starts getting more exciting, right? Where you don't know what's going on. We were in Oklahoma coming off an Ohio beatdown, and we were in those dates where, you know, the thing about Oklahoma, the rut is just a little bit later than Ohio or Missouri or Iowa. And we were coming in to a farm, one of our great farms that has so many big bucks on it. And we were gonna take a step at a time. We were gonna go hang, we were gonna get the wind in our face, and we were just gonna see what we could lay our eyes on and just kind of go with that. We're gonna start in on it. We're gonna go hang a set right now. It's hot today. We will get after it. We're in northwest Oklahoma, about a mile from Kansas. You know, we had been talking about for a while that there were some trees, a big group of cottonwoods that I knew that we probably needed to stand in. It was just so hard to get into, right? And well, we slip in and you know, Cole and I's decision was just to go in, really not be quiet, just go in and get this sucker hung. And it was a chore. I mean, this was a, you know, 27, 28 foot tall where we were gonna put this stand. The tree was a bear to get in, but we did it. We got it hung. And I knew that if we could just get a right wind going forward, we could get in that tree and at least be able to see a long ways, maybe learn something, maybe spot one of those big deer we had on that farm. You know, one deer in particular we had, as we got the 185-inch deer earlier in the year, there was another big deer, probably 170 plus type deer, and that's kind of what we was calling it, was a 170. And we knew this deer was running around the farm, and he definitely would pique my interest. You know, one deer in particular we had, as we got the 185-inch deer earlier in the year, there was another big deer, probably 170 plus type deer, and that's kind of what we was calling him, was a 170. And we knew of him and had the pictures, and Paul Baines had come in, and he actually was hunting the deer, you know, a week prior and had some encounters with him. Actually had him midday come through, and Paul gets an arrow off at him and just barely misses this deer.
Meh. Meh.
Well, as you can see, it wasn't 5 minutes after that last little talk that I just did, and that big deer showed up. Oh my goodness, you'll see. I just barely grazed this brisket. I tried to stop him a couple of times, he wouldn't stop, and I finally stopped him, and I couldn't help it, and I shot him. He ended up being 43 yards, so I shot him for 35. But that's the biggest deer I've ever shot at in my life.
Just barely misses this deer. And I hated it for him. But nevertheless, they had a great encounter, got to see him. We got to see that footage, and we knew this deer was running around the farm, and he definitely would pique my interest. We had hung a ladder stand earlier that year. I think we called it the turkey tree, and it was in a really good spot. Got in it one morning and seen some good bucks, and kind of one thing is when the rut, it just seems like always happens to me. I'm always on the verge of like, oh, they're in lockdown. They're in lockdown. That's my big worry, right? Is, oh, they're locked down. And that's kind of what I saw that morning. I was like, man, these deer are locked down. This is going to be tough. The one thing we had was we had some good weather coming. And again, we were kind of playing on house money. We had already had a pretty good year, which killed some good bucks. So we were just riding on that luck. And again, playing that wind, playing good transition areas, and hopefully deer would be moving around and we could get one in front of them.
We're switching spots. We're gonna go to a set that we hung yesterday. It could be really good tonight.
Well, November 17th, cold weather, had a great wind for that brand new set that Cole and I'd hung, and we were gonna park in an oil well, and we were gonna take a pretty good little walk and just slip in there. And like I said, had a good wind, not only the right wind, but the right a mile an hour wind. We had like a 15, 20 mile an hour wind. So we get to the tree and we crawl up in it, and it's a chore to get up in. It's a long ways up there. It wasn't the easiest tree. And literally, we're both up there. I just got my easy hanger screwed in, got my bow hung, Cole setting up, and I look up and I'm like, Cole, big buck right here. Making a scrape out in the tamaracks, and I knew he was a shooter immediately. And it didn't take me long to realize it was the deer that Paul had got on, and he was within 80, 90 yards. We were gonna have to hurry to see if we couldn't make something happen.
It's like right here. I think it's at 170. Yeah, it is. It's at 170. We ain't even set up.
Immediately I grabbed my Woodhaven grunt call, and I was just watching Cole to see, Cole, can you get on this deer? Trying to get my bow, make sure that I was good enough to be able to shoot this deer. And Cole, he just grabs his camera and he starts freehanding it. And so it's time to go to work. I reach up, grab that Woodhaven, get to blowing it, and sure enough, we get his attention right off the bat.
Ain't wind. He heard that.
I was trying to be patient with him, just giving him a few grunt calls, and finally I see him, and I just see the time. I can snort wheeze this deer, and that's exactly what I did. And when I did, he turned inside out, and here he comes, and I knew unless something bad happened, we were gonna get a shot at this deer.
Oh, dude, he's coming.
Dang wind. That's the one thing I love about the Woodhavens. I was able to really grunt to this deer to get some power in it, so to make him be able to hear it and got his attention. All of a sudden we started seeing other deer involved there too, so I really didn't know what I needed to do, but as I watched him go through, I could realize that this deer was by himself. He was interested in the does, and if I could just get them does out of his hair for a little bit, I figured I could call to him and I could get him right at the base of the tree. Oh, dude, he's coming. Come back over here. He's gonna come back here. I think he went down about the road. Oh, bittersweet right there, bittersweet. I ain't gonna lie. Right here, midday. Put this on here before I lose it. Yeah, bittersweet for sure. Big, heavy 10. I mean, and when we came in here, me and Cole were trying to figure out where to come. We hung this set yesterday. Big old cottonwood, probably up 30 feet. We're done in Oklahoma. We are done in Oklahoma. Now what? Now what? Cole and I had put in the work all year, and we were having a dream season, if you will. I mean, we were just having a great year, and I think both of us knew, even as we were tracking that deer, we knew not to take this for granted. You know, we'd just come off a year where we'd got into some pretty big bucks, and I'd missed some, we'd wounded some, and definitely wasn't going to take this for granted. This great year that God was blessing us with, and smiles were on her face for sure. What an incredible little hunt calling him in. You know, the one thing I'm gonna tell you is I didn't recognize is he was broke. He's broke his 2, he's broke his 4, he's broke this extra right here, and he's chipped this 3. Couldn't be happier with my SR 350. And just what a hunt right here in a big old cottonwood in northwest Oklahoma. Anyway, just a cool buck, and we're done in Oklahoma. So just like that, we are done. My dad is coming up in the morning, so I'll be able to focus a little bit with him, and hopefully I can get him on a good one. So anyway, blessed up here in northwest Oklahoma, and to say the least, unbelievable. You know, the one thing about this deer is I'd call him that 170, and that's about what I had him at going on the first pictures I had. And you know, obviously he wasn't 170 when I shot him. I didn't even realize that he was broke up some. Nevertheless, a great buck, one that I am so proud of, one that's going on my wall, and one I'll cherish from now on. So again, God had shined on us on this ranch, and again, we weren't going to forget it anytime soon. Hey guys, Jeff Danker here, and welcome to this week's Walk by Faith. Today I want to turn right to Genesis, the creation. You know, I believe that so many times people say they're Christians, but they don't believe in a six-day creation. They believe it's thousands of years. And I truly believe you can't believe in the right God if you do that. And let's just look at what Scripture says, not my opinion, but what Scripture. In verse 4, Genesis 1:4, it says, God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. In verse 5, he says this, God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, one day. That's what the Scripture says. God created this earth and heavens and everything he created. He created 6 days and rested on the seventh day, because that's what Scripture says. I encourage you to go study Genesis 1 and believe that, know the truth, and that way that we can help many others knowing what the Scripture says, not our opinion. Guys, I'm Jeff Danker, and remember, as we always say, shoot by sight and walk by faith.